Hello everybody and welcome to part 3 of Thorgi's KOF Retrospective. Been a while. It's gonna take us a long ass time. We are not even at part 4 yet. And this one's what? 3 hours long? How much King of Fighters is there?
So much King of Fighters.
Okay, but this...
I mean, because how many games have we gone through? Because we know there's like 15 of them, right?
Well, there's much more than 15 because they haven't even started with the number titles yet. It's just been the year titles. So technically
where did the numbers start? They don't start at 1, do they?
I mean, this next section is King of Fighters 2003. We're not even at 1 yet.
Jeez.
I don't know where it starts, but I guess we'll learn about it here. The title has Ash Crimson and Maximum Impact. Now, the only thing I know about Ash Crimson is when Survey told me they recognized Ash's haircut from a mod that they downloaded for The Sims. That is like such a weird connection, but that's all I know.
The Sims
really.
2 specifically. But yeah. I'm sure there was probably other King of Fighter characters, but that was the one that I saw and downloaded.
Some sort of dichotic connection right here. The weirdest way possible to know this character. But I'm looking forward to learning about them because apparently a lot of you guys in the comments are excited to see this one. Think we should just get it? Oh, but wait. Before we do, this is a new part. So just in case, quick reminder, please go and support Thorgi's video here. A link to that is at the very top of the description, like always.
Hello everyone and welcome to part 3 of our King of Fighters retrospective. Now, in case you missed the previous parts, then a card for it should be popping up right now, but if you need a quick refresher, King of Fighters was a fighting game originally intended to be a crossover series between various SNK characters. But it quickly took on its own identity as it became an annual release with a continuous storyline that built from one installment to another. But during production of the last storyline, SNK, suffering from financial problems for many years, was bought up by the pachinko company Aruzi, who, surprise surprise, wanted to turn all their games into pachinko machines. They then let the company go bankrupt and sold all their franchises off for scrap. However, SNK's founder, Aikichi Kawasaki, split off to form multiple other companies, where he not only purchased back all of SNK's franchises, but also hired back many of their former staff members. And so, with all their staff and all their franchises back under one roof, they christened this new company SNK Playmore, and they were all set to bring about the rebirth of SNK. Which ultimately led to the company's death once again. Oh yeah, we have a whole other setup.
I did hear about another time where SNK went bankrupt. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I know roughly the timeline there. However, I don't think it only went bankrupt 2 times. I'm pretty sure there have been multiple times. So I guess we'll get into it. Well, why can't SNK just catch a break, man? Well, why does this keep happening?
It's not another pachinko company, is it?
I don't think it is. I don't know the details behind it. I don't think it is. SNK is such a funny company where it's like, oh, oops, we got bankrupt again. Oh, let me just randomly make a banger of a game. It just keeps happening, bro.
Problems to cover on today's episode. So let's go ahead and roll that intro and get into it, shall we?
Let's.
It all began in 94, and found rolling in 95. Pieces were replaced in 96, it came to the hand in 97. Now it comes, and here we go. KOF is here again. Nothing since out since 1998.
SNK had now found itself under a new home and were once again their own bosses. This was a bold new era for the company.
Is that Mr.
An era
Big
of
with 2
opportunity
ladies in
and
the back
endless
there?
possibilities. The SNK Playmore era. However, as uplifting as that might sound, the SNK Playmore era was actually a very divisive era. It's not so much that SNK did anything wrong during this time. Okay, there is something they did wrong during this time, and we'll get to that way later in the episode, but for the most part, there were just a lot of decisions that they made that left audiences vocally split. But before we start to get into that, let's start with the development of King of Fighters 2003. Yes, the NES saga was over, which meant that a brand new King of Fighters storyline was about to begin. And unlike the NES saga, where the development of that game and all the new characters had a crazy backstory behind it that all revolved around a canceled game, the development of this new story was actually pretty simple. SNK knew exactly what they wanted from the start. They wanted something different. They wanted their new hero to be one that would stand out from the previous protagonist. So, while Kyo was your typical shonen-style young adventurous hero and K-Dash was an aggressive action hero, they decided this new hero, Ash Crimson, needed to be more feminine and fashionable.
I didn't realize Ash was meant to be like the main character.
It seems that we've been swapping main characters based on the arc that they're currently going through in the story. So like we had K-Dash for the last one and then Kyo for the previous one. Almost like a JoJo situation.
Outfit that looked more at home on the runway than in a battle. And they would have an attitude that was far more refined and elegant. I do like
Ash's design.
However, the biggest change SNK had in mind for their new hero was that they wouldn't be a hero. Don't get me wrong, they were still referred to as the hero, simply because that's what SNK always calls the KOF protagonist. Every KOF storyline needs a hero and it needs a rival. But they decided they wanted the hero of this new storyline to actually be a villain, with the SNK website at the time saying that the initial premise behind Ash Crimson was to make, quote, an attractive evil character. This
There are plenty of attractive evil characters out there, so I like this. I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. Because I do know that, like, at least with 15, Ash is there, and Ash does have friends, so I feel like things kind of turned around at the end, probably. But being introduced like this and making a move like this for a fighting game, like, we don't know too many fighting games yet, but I feel like this is definitely unique within the genre to have a protagonist that's just
having
evil.
Your main character be not good is generally not commonplace.
Well, it's just harder to get your audience kind of behind the character because, well, the things that they do may not be as agreeable.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how they pull this one off.
This was indeed a huge shift away from the previous stars, and it was
I
an
think people
even
like
bigger
Ash,
gamble.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. SNK had collapsed, gone bankrupt, and been sold off piece by piece. But thanks to hard work and no small amount of money, the company was able to come back together. After going through something like that, most people would want to play it safe. But nope, SNK decided to turn the wheel in a brand new direction and step on the gas
I appreciate that
hard.
about them, though.
Hey, what are we talking about? This is SNK. Of course they're gonna go for like the weirdest thing that no other company would ever do and might absolutely flop, or it might be an absolute banger.
This was a huge risk. And did it pay off? Well, remember how I said the SNK Playmore era was a divisive era? Ash Crimson is pretty much the poster boy for that. Because Ash has his fans, and he has his critics. And those two sides do not get along. Ash fans hold on to him dearly and cherish him as their special evil cinnamon roll. And Ash's critics will jump through your window to explain to you in detail all the things they don't like about him. In fact, I'd be willing to say that Ash Crimson is the most controversial character in KOF history, and when you are aware of all the characters in KOF history, that is indeed saying something.
I don't know much about Ash, but I feel like I haven't heard anyone like dislike him.
Well, yeah, at least within the communities that I found our channel, I haven't really seen a massive dislike for the character. Probably just a preference for other characters, but the people who do like Ash they do like him and they think he's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing why that would be the case, or like why people might hate the character. I mean, ultimately it's up to preference, right? Like some people just don't like the evil main characters, or maybe just Ash's style doesn't really fit with them. Like I can understand that. It's sort of like a Light Yagami situation where there are some people who think like he's a phenomenal protagonist and others who think that he's like a total dickhead. Which I mean, both are kind of true.
Both can be true.
Yeah. But that just means it's just testament to the character, right? Like how much they can get the people talking about them and how compelling they were for the story.
But why is that exactly? Well, I've already laid out a few of the reasons for you. There was the large change in tone and style of Ash compared to the previous heroes, and it was a huge gamble to make your new hero a villain, and I'll be honest with you, I actually really like that idea. I think that's a bold choice, and there's so many cool things that you could do making your newest hero a villain. But again, it's an idea that's bound to put people off. SNK Ars Falcon said the idea behind Ash was to make a hero
this is
that
one
players...
that, when it came out, was much more controversial, and then as time has progressed, people have warmed up to it.
There is certainly a era of media where certain things that came out before it was popular didn't really do too well. I'm thinking of stuff like, something I always talk about is Claymore getting released. Like, it's a dark fantasy anime. Anime at the time wasn't very popular over in the West, so it never really saw any releases over there. And it ended up flopping. But Claymore is basically Attack on Titan before Attack on Titan. And we all know how Attack on Titan went.
Even more than that, because the point is it's a change for the series, right? I think of things like Miles Morales or Superior Spider-Man, where it's like, when you change something that's beloved, people get angry. But then when you actually sit down and look at the contents and you go, actually, these are pretty great. I enjoy them. So it's once you've had time to like see the change and like have it settle and like the series moves on, right, then you can go back and be like, actually, yeah, no, that character was pretty cool. I enjoyed them a lot.
I think Superior Spider-Man is actually like a pretty good example of something like that, because there are some really good bits from it. But at the time, I can understand if I was a fan of Spider-Man, I'd kind of hate that. It's like, what the hell? I wanted more Peter, but then you kind of do this to Peter? And then you give Doc Ock all his powers, and now we're doing all this? It's like, well, what are you doing? In retrospect, I can appreciate it, maybe. But yeah, I can also understand the feelings of people who wouldn't like a change like that.
Would quote, feel bad for cheering on. Which expanded beyond just being a villain. In addition to being a bad guy, Ash came off as pompous and egotistical. He regularly mocked the other characters and enjoyed teasing them. And again, kudos to them on trying something so bold.
I would too.
But if you make a character people are going to feel bad about cheering
sassy.
on,
I enjoy that.
guess what? Some people are going to feel bad about them. Not everyone is going to step back and say, oh, I see what you're going for here. Yes, very intriguing. I want to see where this goes. No, a lot of people are going to look at them and say, wow, this guy is kind of an a-hole and I don't like him. But as I said, Ash was divisive. Some people hated this stuff about him, but other people really dug it. And speaking personally, I do have my own opinion on Ash, but I'm going to save that for the end of the episode, because there's actually far more to the Ash Crimson debate than what we've already said. There are many more arguments that people have for and against him that will play out as the series goes on. For now, though, we had our heroes, so that means it was time to actually start building this new King of Fighters. And as I said, this was a new era for SNK. They felt refreshed after coming back from the brink of death. They were energized.
They
decided now was the time for their company to explode. And if you were a Japanese video game company in the early 2000s and you wanted to explode, it could only mean one thing. Say it with me, folks. Appeal to the West. Oh, no. Okay, if you've watched our retrospectives before, then there's a good chance that you've heard me bring up that at this point in time, many Japanese gaming companies were trying to aim their games at American audiences. And for a good reason. In 2003, the video game industry was bringing in $15 billion a year, and 60% of that was all coming from North America. Yeah, the video game landscape was changing. Heck, we even brought that up in part 2 when we talked about SNK's financial problems, and we said that part of the reason why SNK was suffering at the time is because the one place on the planet where they could never catch on was in America. And now suddenly, America was where all the money was at.
Yeah, I think they were doing really, really well over in Mexico and China. So maybe those were markets that they maybe should have looked more into. But I get it. Like, you're a company, you're trying to make the most profit as possible in order to fund whatever projects that you're working on, and America is kind of where the money is, so...
It's always a fine balance of finding new audience without alienating your current audiences.
always the fine balance where I feel like a lot of companies kind of miss, and then they don't appeal to anybody.
And then they have no audience. Yay!
Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted.
However, typically when I say things like gaming companies were trying to appeal to the West, the first thing that comes to your mind is stuff like this, and this, and this.
Oh,
and damn,
God.
even when I'm not doing a retrospective on a Capcom game, I still have to drag them a little, don't I? I think I have a problem. Point is, it was around...
Okay, I've heard some things about DMC. I've also heard some good things about it.
No,
but,
it's bad.
I'm not going to be playing it because YouTube copyright for the music on DMC is kind of insane, apparently. So, yeah, we're just going to avoid that one.
DMCA'd by DMC?
Yeah, that's what DMC stands for.
Around this time that we were seeing a lot of Japanese studios making games loaded with things that they thought Western audiences wanted without ever asking Western audiences if that's something that they actually wanted. Bleak gray settings, lots of swearing and crude humor, and of course, cover-based shooters as far as the eye could see.
Oh my
But
goodness.
SNK had a different approach. Their idea of how to make their games sell in the West was simply to try and sell their games in the West. Hold on, crazy idea, I know, but hear me out. Yes, in part 2, you might remember me mentioning that Aruzi, after purchasing SNK, was trying to dismantle the company, purposely setting them up to fail. So much so that they even shut down SNK's US offices, because when video game sales are rising in America, of course you would want to shut down the branch of your company responsible for bringing your games to America. But now that SNK Playmore had been formed, they opened up brand new global branches with a focus on bringing these games to not just other countries, but to brand new consoles. As I mentioned previously, the arcade scene where SNK had lived and thrived was drying up at this time. The home console scene is where it was at in the early 2000s. Well, SNK knew this, and they were setting their sights on this new audience. In 2003, Ben Herman, the president of SNK's USA branch, said that, quote, SNK Playmore will continue to develop new games for the PS2 and Xbox, as well as mentioning that they were going to begin development on games for the PSP and the next generation of all three consoles. This might seem like a big no-duh statement for a lot of companies, but again, SNK up to this point had largely been focused on arcades. So saying that they were going to begin focusing on these home consoles, especially the Xbox, a system that mostly saw success in the West, was a big statement. There may have also been another reason why he made those statements, but you know what? I'm going to hold off on that. We'll get back to this statement.
Thorgi, why are you such a tease, Thorgi? This is almost reminding me of the Blaze Blue video, where it's like, just hold on to that. We'll get right back to that later on. It'll make sense then. It's like, oh, come on.
Later, just keep it in your mind. Just remember that he said this.
Okay.
So yes, SNK was definitely changing up their strategy at this time, and speaking personally, this American push was very apparent to me at the time. I know I'm talking about KOF like I've been with them this entire time, but honestly, no, I was late to the SNK train. When I was a kid, I did...
Well, we just got on the SNK train after all this happened. I think you were pretty early compared to us.
Play Fatal Fury at the arcades, but then I took a long break from the company until I was in college and I checked out Capcom vs. SNK 2. That was really my big introduction to King of Fighters and the rest of the SNK world. And that was happening around the mid-2000s. And I bring this up because after playing Capcom vs. SNK 2 and falling in love with it, I went to the game store one weekend and suddenly for the first time in my life, I actually saw King of Fighters being promoted. Yes, any game store I went into now had posters of King of Fighters 2003 on the wall. And every gaming magazine I picked up now had ads with Ash Crimson staring you in the face. And I'm not saying that this was the first time SNK ever started advertising to Western audiences. No, far from it. They've been doing it this entire time. But there was definitely a push happening now. They realized American audiences had largely ignored their series in the past, and they wanted to make sure that didn't happen again. In fact, they went so far that I've mentioned several times throughout this retrospective that there have been dozens of Japanese manga or Chinese manhwa based around the King of Fighters, and that was no exception for King of Fighters 2003. It did have a Chinese manhwa based around it, and it actually got an officially translated English release, the very first time that ever happened with an SNK comic. SNK was serious about this.
I wonder, like, during that era, does that feel like a little early to be doing stuff like this? Because I feel like it was still pretty niche over in the States at the time.
I mean, fuck, I was very young in 2003, so I don't know.
I feel like that was the era where people were still, like, doing fan translations of anime and putting them on, like,
I know for when I was a kid, so I started getting into anime when I was like 12, 11, 12-ish, maybe 10. But yeah, I would get like anime DVDs and manga from the library, and there was very limited selections there. Like, not very many actual DVDs came over to the States for like anime and stuff. So like the things that we got were, most people knew them because that was all that was here for anime fans, right?
Yeah.
And that, then as I kind of got into more like 13, 14, that was kind of, I think, when fan subs were really popular. And that's when I got my laptop as a kid. It was like when I was 13, I think. And so I could like watch fan subs on the internet through dubious websites of many varieties. Because Crunchyroll didn't exist back then. There was no online streaming for any of those things. Yeah, so I think with a lot of like Japanese like imported content, it was much more limited back then. Like you didn't just have like access to all the seasonal things that came out or the same like global releases or anything.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, at the time, there weren't any of these services that people could readily access that would just give them direct access to all this content. So I'm like, was there even like some sort of webtoon application to read this translated manhwa?
No.
I don't think there was at the time.
I only could get them from the bookstore or the library at the time.
So yeah, still pretty limited, but I guess it's the early days of trying to break through into the Western market to become mainstream. Maybe a little too early for SNK though. We'll see.
Everything that they had been through, they were ready to finally reach out and grab this new audience and make a splash with this new storyline. So, did they succeed? Well, let's finally delve into King of Fighters 2003 and find out.
Like, this was a lot of prefacing.
Yep.
Got this flash so fast I can't see what they are even.
Oh my.
Oh, damn.
I mean, the animations look sick.
That was a steel fire. Yeah. I really like Ash's design a lot.
King of Fighters 2003 launched in arcades on December 12th, just barely getting in under the buzzer to keep that annual release going. And just like how the NES Saga changed things up by creating a 4-team structure and introducing the assist-based striker system, this new saga wanted to spice things up and change the formula as well. So they decided to completely revolutionize the team structure of the series. Before, you would each pick the order of your 3 characters, then when one character lost, the next character would go out. But now, you would pick a leader for your team, then you would decide who would go out first, but now you could swap out with your other party members at any time, and as soon as the character was KO'd,
Hey, the tag fighter, finally here. Well, we already saw like little bits and pieces of it, but this definitely feels more like a active tagging situation now.
The match would continue as your next character instantly jumped in. I've heard a lot of people say that these changes were made to make the game more similar to the Marvel vs. Capcom series, but I haven't been able to find any actual quotes from anyone at SNK to say whether or not this was intentional. However, intentional or not, yeah, this was definitely lined up more with the Versus games than with the classic KOF formula. The gameplay was much quicker as a result, and some people really enjoyed the faster pace, but other people complained that a lot of KOF's identity was lost because of this. Now, even though this was drawing comparisons to the Versus games, there were a few big distinctions that kept KOF feeling unique. For starters, in the Versus games, whenever a character was tagged out, they would regain back some of their health. But that didn't happen here. Now, in KOF 2003, if a character was low on life, then they were just low on life. You couldn't swap out to recover any of that back. So, you might be asking, what exactly was the point of swapping out characters then? Well, the obvious reason was that you might have a character out there who was a bad matchup for your opponent, so you could swap them out for a character who was a better fit. But there were two other reasons for it.
It's kind of the fun
First
of
up,
tag,
as with all the previous games, every character had access to super moves that would use up 1 bar of meter. However, as I said, when you formed your team, you would pick a team leader, and your leader would have access to an extra super that would use 2 bars of meter. So think of it like this. You got your leader out there, but you don't have enough bars to use their special leader super, and you don't know if you'll be able to survive long enough to be able to build up that meter. Well, just swap them out with another teammate, have that character build up the meter, then you call your leader back in when you're ready to use that move. But the big reason for swapping characters in and out is that you could do a special input that would lead into an attack, and then another party member would come flying in to combo off the attack that you just performed. This was a great way of setting up your opponent for big damage. I've seen videos of people online doing crazy stuff comboing off of this. And here's the great thing about this. Let's say your opponent is trying to zone you out and you can't get in. Well, then you just do this attack, and sure, your initial attack will completely whiff because your opponent is on the other side of the screen, but then your teammate will still come flying in right into your opponent's face, easily allowing you to close that distance and start pressuring them. So, while swapping out in the Versus system had more of a defensive purpose, swapping out in KOF 2003 had more offensive benefits. Now, it is worth pointing out that in order to perform these attack swaps, you would have to spend a bar of meter. And I'll admit, when it comes to spending my meter in games, I'm a bit stingy. I always refer to your resources in fighting games as your cool moves budget, so I always like to ask, is the effect that I get off of this ability worth the amount of my cool moves budget that I have to spend? And I'll admit, just saying it out loud, you have to spend a bar of meter to get your character to instantly swap in, doesn't really sound worth it to me. However, after playing the game, yeah, it's totally worth it, and I love doing this. Bringing in your character so quickly opens up so many opportunities and has so many uses. And best of all, your meter in this game builds fast. You can waste this move and it won't matter because you'll get that meter back in no time. And best of all, you start the match with 3 full bars already. This game starts each fight off telling you, here's everything, just go nuts with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can respect that. It's certainly a much more faster paced version of King of Fighters that we've seen so far. This almost is reminding me more so of, well, tag fighters nowadays, but something like Guilty Gear Strive, where you like build meters so incredibly fast, and they just want you to use the cool moves. They want you to do supers. They want you to do all this stuff. But on the other side, I can also see why people feel like it's lost a bit of its identity, because King of Fighters inherently is a very, I guess, like footsies-based game, where you're trying to hold your position on screen and then constantly try to make your opponent make a mistake to then gain the advantage after that. Whereas here, it's more like, go, 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 go.
It's more aggressive, yeah.
I love this, and by giving you so many resources, it leans into the faster combat that this game was going for. Now, as for the presentation of the game, I mentioned that the games during the NES saga were starting to show their age, and yeah, that's sadly still true here. Don't get me wrong, SNK still knows how to make good-looking sprites. They are wizards when it comes to in-between frames, but all the artistic talent in the world could only push the hardware so much.
Yeah.
You see, this was the final game SNK would make using the Neo Geo multi-video system hardware, which is literally the same hardware they'd been using since the very first King of Fighters, almost a decade earlier. Yes, the same hardware running this was also running this. As I said, this game looked a little dated, but when you realize the engine running it was practically operating on steam power, it's damn impressive. But now let's get to arguably the most important part of any new KOF game, the roster. Who was returning, who was new, and whose team would everyone be on? Starting off simple, Team Artifine was Ryo, Yuri, and Robert, who now returned to his old Shoto-style inputs. Ikari Warriors was Ralph, Clark, and Leona. K-Dash was joining Whip and Maxima, but since K-Dash was no longer the hero of the storyline, he could no longer call his team Team Hero. So his new team would simply be called Team K-Dash, because K-Dash is a man who will not put any more work into anything than he has to. Then Team Japan was made up of Benimaru, Goro Diamond, and Shingo, who had spent the last year training with Saisu to learn some Kusanagi fighting techniques.
Oh yeah, that's right. The last arc kill was like, buddy, this life ain't for you. Go live a normal life. And then he was so sad. But then I think Kyo's father came in and was like, I will train you to be tougher than he is. We reached KOF 15 now. I don't know if we've achieved that yet, but Shingo is still a great dude.
But now we start getting to some interesting new developments on these teams. Team Women Fighters still saw King and Mai, but now they are being joined by Blue Mary. Team Korean Justice was made up of Kim, Junhoon.
Yeah, honestly, Blue Mary being on that team makes a lot more sense than the criminal team. Like, I'm okay with that.
And Chang mean for the first time ever, there was a King of Fighters without Choi Boon. Thank God! Sorry. I know that's very disrespectful to the Choi fan out there, but even after fighting him...
To the Choi fan out there. I see what you did there, Thorgi. Do you remember who Choi is?
Was he the funny little gremlin guy?
Yeah, he's a funny little gremlin Freddy Krueger reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even not playing this game, I can definitely see that this guy is going to be an absolute pain to deal with, considering how tiny he is, how fast he moves, and yeah, I feel that. I'm glad that he's not here too.
In 9 games for this retrospective, he was still a headache for me. So yeah, I didn't miss him. But he wasn't the only staple not returning. For the very first time, Andy Bogard would not return, as
What?
Team Fatal Fury was now made up of Joe Higashi, Terry Bogard, now rocking his leather jacket from Galro Market.
Oh, Andy got replaced by T-Zoc? I mean, that's cool. I wouldn't expect that, but it's nice to see T-Zoc here.
Wolves. And speaking of Galro Mark of the Wolves, their final member was T-Zoc. Yes, T-Zoc was a masked Mexican wrestler who fought under the moniker The Griffin, and he believed in fighting for justice and tried to act as a hero to children around the world. I honestly love this character. He might be one of my favorite grapplers in any fighting game. He's just so full of personality, and his flipping and flying grabs are just so fun to perform. While we're talking about Galro Mark of the Wolves, for the first time since KOF 97, we saw the return of Team Outlaw, made up of Yamazaki and Billy Kane, but now they're being joined by Gato. Gato is an angry, ruthless master of Chinese boxing. However, unlike Billy Kane and especially Yamazaki, Gato isn't really a villain. Sure, he's cold and violent, but he's not out to commit crimes just to get revenge. When he was younger, his father killed his mother, and so he left his sister Hotaru behind to go on a quest for vengeance, which is the exact reason why he's on this team. Geese Howard has taken an interest in this year's tournament, and so he tells Gato that he has some information on his father, and if he wants it, then he's going to have to join his team. Next up, for the first time ever, there was no Psycho Soldiers team in a KOF, as Sai Kinzu was off trained to master his new Dragon Spirit powers, so Athena had to lead her own brand new team, which just happens to be the worst named team in the entire series. Team High School Girls. The team would be made up of Athena, the young sumo wrestler fan Hinako Shijo, and the brand new character, Malin. Now, Malin, despite her age, is actually a deadly fighter who uses knives, hammers, blades, and all sorts of other weapons. She was created to essentially be an echo fighter for Choi, because since he wasn't returning, the devs wanted to make a character with similar moves for all the Choi players out there.
So,
Damn.
he's not here, but he's still here.
A creepy old man with a teenage girl.
Yup. It's the new generation. You gotta adapt.
Malin works for a secret spy organization, which is why she joined Athena's team. She says her organization knew that Athena was looking for teammates, implying that Malin's organization might be spying on the KOF characters. And that plotline would go...
Nowhere. Yep.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they had some plans for Malin at some point in time, but it never comes back up again. So yeah, there's a knife-wielding assassin who wants to team up with Athena. Don't worry about why. Kyoniori would return as individual entries, at least that's how it appears on the select screen, we'll get back to that later, which means that we now come to our final team, the brand new Team Hero. The leader of the team was, of course, the previously mentioned Ash Crimson, and I talked a bit about Ash's personality and his design, but I didn't really bring up who he was, his origin. And there's a reason for that. We don't really know any of that. At least, not yet. In the first game, Ash's background was still being kept largely a mystery. Although, like Kyo and K-Dash, he did have flame powers, but his flames were green. A very
Yeah, we don't know anybody with green flame powers yet, because it's always been the regular red or the purple for Orochi.
natural color that helped add a mystery to him. Why did he have powers like the previous two heroes? Was he connected to them? These were just a few of the many questions that players had. Now, join him on this team were his two friends, Shinwoo, an aggressive backstreet brawler from Shanghai who lives to fight strong opponents, so much so that Shinwoo isn't even his name. It's a title he gave himself because Shin means God and Woo means battle. Then the third member of his team was Duo Lon, and Duo is a good guy. He's got a strong sense of justice and a caring heart, so you'd probably never expect that he was actually a member of the Hizoku Guild of Assassins and the son of their former leader, Ron. Hey, remember Ron? The assassin who betrayed his clan to go and work for Nest in the last story, and then he betrayed Nest there at the end, kind of off-screen? To this day, he's still never been playable, but his presence has continued to be felt throughout the series. At least for the next few games. And Duo Lon was making...
I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of forgot about Ron. Not gonna lie.
I sure didn't remember him. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I was just gonna nod and go,
Yeah, I get it. I was there. I saw it. But man, what a hell of a name. Ron.
Ron.
The true evil mastermind. Ron.
I mean, I feel like the legacy of Baylord Yama, Baylord Doom, and Baylord Paul will forever live on in other series.
Oh man. Okay. For anybody who doesn't get the reference, read Tower of God. Like, Tower of God is pretty dope.
Yeah.
it his mission to hunt his father down and make him pay for what he'd done. So we've got all our fighters finally in order, but who was the big villain this time around? Who would you be going up against in the end? Well, that's where things got really interesting, because you see, King of Fighters was known for having a big final boss, but then there would typically be a sub-boss that you would fight right before them. However, King of Fighters 2003 did something that we'd never seen before, as it didn't just have a sub-boss, but it also had a mid-boss that you would fight halfway through the arcade ladder, and two alternate final bosses. I'm pretty sure that means KOF 2003 wins the title of most bosses in a canonical KOF game. And many of these bosses are some pretty deep references to previous KOF games. For starters, when you make it halfway through the arcade ladder, you get a glimpse of a mysterious woman reciting a prayer. And behind her, out of the shadows, comes a dark, evil version of Kyo. This is Kusanagi, and I don't just mean, oh, like Kyo Kusanagi. No, remember when I talked about KOF 2002? And I mentioned that for that non-canonical dream match, they decided to make an evil version of Kyo just for the heck of it, and they called him Kusanagi? Yeah, this is him! They took the evil Kyo clone and actually put him in a mainline game, meaning this might be one of the only times I've ever heard of a non-canonical fighting game character being made canon in a later game. But this is when things get really interesting. If you beat Kusanagi with a regular or special attack, then the game continues and eventually you face the mysterious woman who summoned Kusanagi, but she finds your strength unworthy, so she uses her powers to banish you away. Suddenly, you find yourself in a floating air fortress, the Sky Noah, and the owner of this ship appears before you and introduces herself as the host of this year's King of Fighters tournament, Rose Bernstein. You know, like Rugal Bernstein? This is the daughter of the original boss of King of Fighters, and she tells you that for the finale of this year's tournament, you have to face her brother Adelheid, who basically plays like his
I
old
like her
man
hair.
did,
Those
except
are
he's
some
not
serious
nearly
Joe
as...
ringlets.
I was thinking of this particular scene. Yeah, we did see this fight with Adol before, but who was playing in the background on the piano? I guess that's Rose.
True, yeah. Yeah.
aggressive. And there's a reason for that. Adelheid isn't a monster like his father. He's noble and doesn't want any part of his father's dark legacy. However, for some reason, his sister is acting strangely out of character. She's being bloodthirsty and demanding that Adelheid keep fighting even after he loses. He doesn't know what's gotten into his sister. And neither do you, because then the game just ends. And there's a reason for that. Because this was not the true ending. No, you see, to get the true ending, you have to finish Kusanagi off with a super move. And I'm just going to give you all a big tip right now. I played this game on both the PS2 and the PS4 as part of the Arcade Archives collection, which is why sometimes the footage you're seeing has 2D backgrounds and 3D backgrounds. Okay. And if you're all interested in this game and you want to pick it up, buy it digitally as part of the Arcade Archives collection. Because those let you create save states, and they are a lifesaver. Nothing is worse than getting halfway through the arcade ladder and then screwing up against Kusanagi. And
I mean,
save state struck again.
I appreciate save states so much. It's kind of the only reason why I've been able to get through Donkey Kong Country. I cannot imagine how children back in the day were able to get through that game. My goodness. Oh.
Nah, save states.
Now you're banned from getting the true ending. But if you manage to beat Kusanagi with a super, then when you face the mysterious woman, she finds your strength to be suitable, and she reveals herself to be Chizuru. Oh. Yes, the third member of the three sacred treasures, Kyoniori's ally against Orochi in the original storyline. She was back. And while Rose was the host of this year's tournament, Chizuru was the one who put it all together. And as you can tell, something wasn't quite right about her either. She uses the power of her sacred mirror to summon out a reflection of her dead sister Maki. Now, when Chizuru originally appeared in King of Fighters 96, she served as the sub-boss for that game as well. Yeah. But if you challenged her and you had Chizuru on your team, then the game would say that that wasn't Chizuru you were fighting in the tournament, but instead it was a reflection of Maki being summoned out by the mirror. So even though I'm sure some of you might think it's a little bit odd for them to just suddenly whip out Maki for this storyline, it's actually a callback to something that had already been established in a previous game. From there, you have to fight a two-person team made up of Chizuru and Maki, and let me just say, oh, this fight is a headache. It's not really tough, but Chizuru already had the power to make duplicates of herself that jump and run across the stage. Now she's got a duplicate fighter that does the same thing that she can swap in and out with. And it's made even worse because the AI in this game, well, it's not really difficult, but it is super agile. Out of all the KOF games I have played for this retrospective, I haven't seen one where the computer just spammed that dodge roll this much. So you've got two different versions of Chizuru that can swap in and out with themselves, both of which can create duplicates that run all over the stage, and they're constantly dodge rolling left and right past all of your attacks. When you put all that together, this fight can feel like sensory overload. But after you beat Chizuru...
I can only imagine, two people who can summon another clone of themselves just all running around the battlefield at the same time. My God. You can't say which one is the real one. How am I supposed to tell?
You see strings that had been controlling her get cut, and a mysterious woman appears behind her. This is Botan, a woman with the ability to control others' minds and bodies like they were puppets, and she steps aside to reveal Mukai, a giant mountain of a man who reveals to you that they were the ones really behind this year's tournament. They needed someone to defeat Chizuru, but they couldn't do it themselves because they had to keep their presence a secret for now. So they used Botan's power to manipulate Chizuru into starting a new King of Fighters tournament, so that way a strong warrior would hopefully appear to defeat her. Why did they need Chizuru defeated? So that way it would weaken the seal around Orochi.
Well, here we go again. So, does that mean in the not true ending that Rose was being controlled by Botan as well? With her magical puppeteering powers? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. We're going back to Orochi. I mentioned that Ash Crimson was a very interesting choice for a protagonist because you would think that after everything SNK had gone through, they'd want to play things safe. Well, while they were taking chances on their new hero, they were definitely playing it safe with the overall story, because Orochi is once again front and center. A lot of fans even refer to this storyline as the Orochi Saga Part 2, because this is very much a back-to-basics plot. At least in the beginning. It's going to get a lot more complicated as we go along.
Yeah,
From
as
there, you have to
expected.
fight Mukai, and
I
this
expect
is
nothing else, yeah.
actually one of my favorite boss fights in the series. In terms of difficulty, he's right smack down in the middle, being a challenge but not impossible, and I dig that he's got a common theme going. I've never really been a fan of villains who just have 1,000 random abilities. I like a villain who has a shared motif. And Mukai is built like a mountain, so he fights with rocks. He summons out giant pillars to come down from the ceiling or spring up from the ground. He can grab you and turn you to stone, and he has a full screen super that can also petrify you. Just in terms of flavor and presentation, I really dig him. The only problem with this...
Honestly, it's kind of cool that he can just straight up turn you into a statue. It somewhat reminds me of Omega Rugal and all the statues of the fighters that he's defeated just like behind him. I believe in one of the Capcom versus SNK games, there is even a special interaction between Guile from Street Fighter and Omega Rugal. Mm-hmm. During their introduction, Omega Rugal just puts like a statue of Guile down in front of him. And then Guile gets pissed off and just slices it in half. Just a neat little reference back when they were very petty against each other. SNK and Capcom didn't like each other very much at first.
Fight is that his hitbox is insane when he does certain moves. He will do his stomp attack and just slide his whole body through you like Shadowcat. Like, it's so wonky, it's actually kind of gross at times. It almost feels like a glitch. But who cares about that? Check out this stage! Fighting in front of the throbbing blood red seal of Orochi makes this feel like a final boss fight. It really gives this that feeling that you have to stop this guy here and now, or else that big pulsating mound of evil is going to wake up.
Is it just me, or is like the inner core of that Orochi green? Mm-hmm. Does that have anything to do with Ash's powers? Almost. Yeah.
When you win, your heroes are then whisked away as they wonder what the heck all that was about, and Mukai joins a group of shadowy figures who promise that this isn't over.
Oh
now, there's
goodness.
a few things worth pointing out in these team endings. For starters, in the Ikari Warriors ending, the Orochi seal being weakened causes Leona to briefly transform into her Orochi form, and Ralph and Clark have to subdue her. Also, speaking of the Ikari Warriors, here's a fun fact for you. In every other King of Fighters game, the canonical winner of the tournament was whichever team was that game's team hero. But not in here. In King of Fighters 2003's official story, the Ikari Warriors were the ones who faced Adelheid, meaning they were the official winners of that year's tournament. Good for them. They've been doing this for 9 years straight now. It's about time they took the trophy home.
Hell yeah.
In fact, while we're talking about who fights who, the Ikari Warriors beat Adelheid, but there were 2 bosses in this game. So, who officially challenged Mukai? You're probably expecting it to be Ash Crimson, since he was the hero of this saga, but nope, it was K-Dash. Yeah, even after his storyline was all wrapped up, K-Dash still was on the clock for Big Boss cleanup duty. Well, then what exactly was Ash doing during this time?
Right?
I mean, this was his storyline, and he was still letting the last protagonist take the glory? Well,
I mean, was Ash a part of this shadowy organization this entire time when he was just here for fun, maybe? I don't know. He's supposed to be part of the bad guys, right?
What was his team up to? Well, they were busy splitting up. Yeah, after failing to make it to the final, Shinwoo says see ya, Duo Lon senses Ron nearby and goes after him, and Ash... Well, Ash says now it's time for him to start his true plan. I mentioned the idea behind Ash Crimson was, hey, what if our new hero was actually a villain? But so far, he hasn't really done anything villainous. That's where the secret ending comes into play. Ooh. Yes, if you put in a secret code on the character select screen, then you can unlock Chizuru and once again form the 3 Sacred Treasures team. Then you get to see what happens after K-Dash and his team beat the mind-controlled Chizuru and Makai. Kyo and Iori arrive and help Chizuru to the Orochi seal. Luckily, the seal still seems to be intact though. Whoever these mysterious villains were, their plans had failed because Chizuru still lives and she still had the power of the Sacred Mirror. To which Ash Crimson says, Sacred Mirror powers? Don't mind if I do! Ash then appears behind Chizuru and using some strange new powers that we've never seen before, takes her mirror and her powers for himself. Using Chizuru's new powers, he then teleports away, but not before turning to Iori and telling him that he's next, leaving Kyo to swear revenge against this strange new opponent. And that's how the first chapter of this new saga ended. Mechanically, I really dug the new tagging system. They spiced it up enough to make it feel unique, and they gave you enough resources to play around with it, and there were some interesting new characters. But when it comes to the new storyline, so far, it was a big question mark. And I don't...
Yeah, nothing too impressive yet. This feels definitely more like a setup. I'm like, slice of life, we're going through the same motions, but then, whoops, something else is happening in the background.
I don't mean like how the Nest Saga was a big question mark because I didn't read the mangas, so I had no idea what anyone was talking about. No, this time, that was on purpose. The Ash Saga was meant to be ominous. So far, this was a story that was shrouded in mystery. Who were these new villains? What was Ash Crimson up to? Why was Orochi being involved in all this?
What is Mai doing?
You're just relaxing.
What the dog doing? Whose dog is that?
Audiences had a lot of questions after playing this game, and luckily, they wouldn't have to wait that long to get answers.
Oh, our first numbered one?
Oh.
This is certainly an intro. Is that Bijane?
The King of Fighters 11.
Oh, hey, okay. So the first number one is 11.
We just jumped right into 11. Okay.
Interesting.
Is it the 11th title then?
I would assume so. Also, if they were like, 11's a putty number, let's randomly start there. I don't think they would do that.
No. I've seen weirder.
King of Fighters 11 was released on... Wait a second! 11 isn't a year! I mean... Okay, I guess it was, but I'm pretty sure SNK didn't exist that long ago. Yes, folks, you probably noticed by now, but even though these games were managing to keep up their annual releases, they did keep getting pushed back further and further, and eventually they just couldn't keep it up.
I am so glad that we swapped up the year and had to like force ourselves to release one yearly. Cause the more advanced the games get, the more time people are gonna need to work on this. So just swap to the numbered scheme. It's much easier.
For the first time ever, King of Fighters had to skip a year, and rather than naming the game King of Fighters 2005 and making people think, wait, did I miss a game? They just decided to start numbering the titles. A smart decision, although I kind of wish they had started with 2003. Then not only would they have changed up how they numbered these games with the very first game in the new saga, but also that means they could have called it King of Fighters X. Come on, that's just badass. You walk into the store and you see King of Fighters X on the wall, you're picking that game up. But it wasn't just the development time of each individual release, the game also ended up skipping a year because, as I said, SNK was back, and they were trying to strike while the iron was hot. They were pumping out more games now than they had in years. Multiple new Metal Slugs, Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, SVC Chaos, and a whole new fighting game that we'll actually get back to later.
3D KOF, let's go! Oh boy.
So yeah, SNK was busy at the time, and if that wasn't enough, SNK had to learn how to put this game on a brand new hardware.
Who's this?
I mentioned before that all the previous KOF games were all made for the Neo Geo MVS, but in 2004, SNK...
I don't know who that is, but Clark does not give a fuck. He's gonna throw you regardless.
And a contract with gaming company Sammy to start using their hardware, the Atomus Wave. This would hopefully allow the game to look and function better than any game before it. And when it comes to the gameplay, you can definitely see some improvements. It feels even quicker than before, and there were plenty of new mechanics introduced to make it an even more technical game compared to King of Fighters 2003. You still had your power gauge that you could use for supers and quick swapping with your teammates, but now you also had a skill gauge that slowly filled up on its own, building up to 2 slots. And then you could use those slots for more defensive mechanics. So okay, gameplay-wise, this new system was working out for them just fine. But as for looking better,
debatable.
I gotta be honest with you, the sprite work looked a little bit better, but it wasn't exactly the huge leap in quality you would expect from moving to brand new hardware.
I think I like some of the older sprites better.
Yeah, this feels like a different art direction a little bit too when it came to the sprites.
Muddy.
Yeah, maybe it's the system that it's on, but
could be.
And once again, you know, SNK,
Some of the old ones were like really pretty though, so like it's a high bar.
they're incredibly like high definition, especially for the time too. But yeah, SNK once again experimenting with different styles. Like even the artwork on the top here, that seems to be like a different art style from the previous artist I was working on KOF now.
In fact, there were many times that I even noticed the pixels starting to create a buffering layer between the characters in the background, and once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. And speaking of those backgrounds, yeah, we have to talk about these. I've mentioned several times that King of Fighters always had stellar backgrounds, just lively and vibrant scenes full of energy and enthusiam, but for King of Fighters 11, the developers said that they wanted these stages to feel more realistic. And, well, hey, the good news is you did it.
You know what this particular one reminds me of for some reason? The people in the background.
Yeah.
Is it a paranoia agent with the weird laughing OP?
Oh. I haven't seen it, but I think I know what you're talking about. I feel like King of Fighters was very stylized, and now that we're going for a more realistic look, it just doesn't feel very King of Fighters. Which,
I mean, I've made my statements on stylized versus realism before, but I feel like whenever you go for realism, you just date your thing immediately.
Yeah. I can obviously understand that they were innovating, they were trying out new things, and there was a time where people were trying to go for as realistic of a game as possible because of the whole 3D shift and whatnot.
For some reason.
Yeah. And it's really not the play, but you never know what kind of breakthrough they can maybe make. They'll be different. It'll be different this time, you know? But yeah. It's unfortunate that this was like the first numbered King of Fighters to end up becoming like this, but we'll evolve from this. Like we know for a fact that it goes back to the stylized look later on. So
yeah, and
mission accomplished.
3D
The bad news is nobody was asking for that. Yeah, these settings feel more realistic, and when I say realistic, I mean boring. King of Fighters 11 is often criticized by fans for having the worst backgrounds in the series because, well, just look at them.
Yeah.
Sure, that building looks all right, and the sky is a nice shade of blue, and those guys clean the floor all right, but this is KOF. Where's the excitement? Where's the crowds cheering you on? Where's the crazy Easter eggs? Where's the big bombastic set decorations? Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom in these stages. These sets are just so dull. However, while the backgrounds dropped the ball hard, the one spot where the presentation of King of Fighters 11 really shined was the music. This game is easily in my top 5 favorite KOF soundtracks. Every track is overflowing with personality. The Secret Agents theme has this perfect jazzy, smoky bar feel to it. The new Rivals theme is elegant while still being heavy and sounding like it means business. And the hard rock mechanical style of K-Dash's theme, when I think of the theme for Team K-Dash, this is the track that comes to mind.
I can already see it, Serby. The comments, they'll be like, so when are you guys going to react to the KOF music?
Man, I wish I knew music so I could give any sort of good commentary on music. Like, I really wish I did.
Honestly, guys, the best we could maybe do is rock out to it and probably tell you how much we like it. But yeah, like a deep analysis ain't really something we can do. That said, I have heard a few of the tracks, and honestly, knowing you, Serby, I think you'd enjoy most of them. Like, it's,
I mean, it sounds good to me. I like everything you said so far.
Maybe I won't deny the possibility, but yeah, we're not exactly artists or, well, in the music fashion.
Musicians,
let's say.
yeah.
Musicians, yeah.
So the gameplay and the soundtrack are still great, but that's not my favorite thing about King of Fighters 11. No, I actually love this game, and it's for admittedly a really stupid reason. You see, when it comes to any series that's been going for a long time, and especially any fighting game that's been around for multiple installments, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the weird one. And King of Fighters 11 is indeed the weird one. Not for gameplay reasons. I mean, sure, the tag mechanic is still very different, but that was in the last game. What makes this game the weird one is the roster. This is easily the craziest roster in the history of King of Fighters. Almost every single team has something to make you ask, I'm sorry, what? Let's start with the basics. First up is Team Hero made up of Ash and Shinwoo, but now they're being joined by a brand new character, Oswald. Oswald is an Irish hitman who fights with playing cards while striking elaborate over-the-top poses, and he agrees to work for Ash because he's hunting down a rare drug called Dragon Pills. And Ash says he'll provide him with information on how to find them.
This guy looks
Next
funny.
team are...
Is that just like Old Man Gambit? Just King of Fighters-ified? Surprisingly, I do know of Oswald, and I think the reason why I know of Oswald is because Insaniac used to main him in an older King of Fighters game. That's about it. He does seem like a very over-the-top dude. Kind of fun.
Part of fighting was Ryo, King, and Yuri. Not that odd, but this was the very first time that we ever saw that combination of characters together. Then the Ikari Warriors was Ralph, Clark, and Whip, meaning that for the very first time since she was
where's
introduced, Leona was not in the game.
I'm not playing this game.
Then the Psycho Soldiers return with Athena and the returning Sai Kinzu, who had spent the last year training to master his new Dragon Spirit powers.
Who's the new girl?
Yeah, that all kind of got resolved off screen. And then joining them is the brand new character Momoko, a capoeira dancer with her own psychic powers who Athena is helping to train. And I mentioned the sprite work in this game isn't much better than the last game, but I do have to admit, Momoko's animation is really darn impressive for the time.
Yeah.
This is like the one area I can look at and say, yeah, I guess this actually is on a new engine. Also, she has a giant Kamehameha wave as a super.
What the hell is she fighting? What is that?
What?
What is this pink man?
You can't just show us that and not say anything.
I wasn't expecting
like
that. Then Team K-Dash returns once again with K-Dash and Maxima, but now in the third spot was Kula Diamond. Yes, the child soldier created to exterminate K-Dash was now joining him, and this would become their team setup for the next few games, and I have to say, this is one of my favorite KOF teams. Not for mechanical reasons, but as I said in the Nest Saga, I've always loved stories about troubled and damaged characters all coming together to form a family, and this team totally takes that dynamic. I love their interactions, K-Dash being the angry loner who doesn't want to admit that he cares about the people around him, Kula, the young kid who's learning how to grow up and be a human being again from these fellow outcasts, and then of course Maxima being the older brother slash father figure keeping them all together. I love this pack of misfits. Also worth pointing out, starting with this game, Team K-Dash started working for Hydern. Yeah, with the new mysterious villain group popping up, Hydern realized his team of Ikari warriors might not be enough to deal with it. So he brought together a whole mess of special soldiers to help combat this new threat. And seeing as how K-Dash and his team were now basically working as guns for hire, and K-Dash's sister was already part of the Ikari warriors, they ended up becoming Hydern's backup squad. And they weren't the only ones Hydern was hiring. He needed people with special skills to investigate these new villains, so he put together Team Secret Agents, made up of Ramon, Vanessa, and Blue Mary. It is worth pointing out that in the story, Seth is also a member of the team, but he decided to sit the actual tournament out. And while we're talking about new teams, SNK decided after introducing two characters from Galro Mark of the Wolves into the last game, they would go ahead and give them their own team, named Team Mark of the Wolves. It was made up of the returning Gato and Tizok, and their leader was B. Jinny, one of SNK's biggest fan favorite characters. She's a happy-go-lucky, flirty pirate who was born to a wealthy British family, but left to chase adventure on the high seas along with her Lillian Knights, her special band of pirates who return with her in every single one of her appearances. I'm sorry, zoom in. Is that Lau? The guy who got beat up in the intro to Real Bout Fatal Fury 2?
Yo, that's a deep cut. Every single character that shows up is important somehow, in some way. Oh man.
Guy is a member of the Lillian Knights? Oh my god. He gets to return, but Rick Stroud gets left in the dustbins of history? What the hell?
No.
Anyway, speaking of Fatal Fury, not only does
King.
Andy not return, but neither does Joe Higashi. And instead, we get the weirdest Fatal Fury lineup of all time. Made up of Terry, Kim Cap-Wan, who now no longer is leading his own team, and Duck King. Yes, after just barely losing the popularity vote to make it into King of Fighters 97, Duck King finally got...
Do you see that little, like, chick that is going with it? What is that? It's a tiny little duck.
I don't know.
It also has, like, a mohawk thing.
like in a different sprite set, though. Like, it's not the same pixel quality.
Look at him go! Wait, is he also doing a kick?
It's adorable.
Oh my goodness.
King finally got to officially join the cast. He's a funky fresh DJ in Southtown who fights with breakdancing moves while being cheered on by his pet chicken. Needless to say, he is another big fan favorite character. Speaking of weird assortments of characters, next is Team Anti-Kyoku Ginryu. And if you're wondering what Kyoku Ginryu is, it's the style of fighting that Ryo and his family use. In other words, this is the Art of Fighting Rivals team. And personally, I love that there's an Art of Fighting Rivals team. I mean, this entire series started off pitched as Art of Fighting versus Fatal Fury, but while the Fatal Fury series kept getting new characters added left and right, Art of Fighting always just had the one team. So I'm glad they finally got some more presence. Although, if you're expecting these guys to be any kind of a big threat, oh, you're in for a disappointment. This team is used more for comedy, which is fine by me. If you go back and play those old Art of Fighting games, they always had a very healthy sense of humor to them. And even in the King of Fire series, the Art of Fighting team always tended to have the more humorous endings, so it fits. The team is made up of the returning Aiji Kisaragi, the first time that he had canonically been in this series since the Rivals team in King of Fighters 95. Kasumi Toto, who is really only here because she is continuing her search for her father and she thinks that teaming up with them might somehow help her with that. And Malin, who is here because apparently she hates Yuri because she thinks Yuri is too stuck up?
What?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I said they made Malin in the last game for people who missed Choi's playstyle, and I think that's about as far as they thought things through.
They're really trying to figure something out for her. I see the attempt. I can appreciate it for that. Outside of that, yeah, it really doesn't make too much sense, I'll be honest.
No,
Don't get me wrong, I'm fine with
much.
Malin, and I'd be cool with them bringing her back and doing something interesting with her, but so far, she's kind of just being used to fill in empty roster spots. Now, as for the teams that are important to the plot, Kyo and Iori knew that they needed to hunt down Ash and whoever was messing with the Orochi seal. So they put their rivalry aside and finally became an official team. Problem is, Chizuru couldn't join them to reform the three sacred treasures since her powers were gone, so she asked Shingo to join them. Then finally was the new Rivals team, made up of Duo-Lon, who did not approve of what Ash did to Chizuru in the last game and want answers. Benimaru, because he too was concerned about what was happening with Orochi. And because he's Benimaru, and if your team is important to the plot, he's going to be there. And lastly, the leader of the team was the brand new character, Elizabeth Blantorch.
God damn! Elizabeth was very different back then. She was,
I like it though. She looks cool.
Yeah, she does. It's a very different style from what she currently has, though, nowadays. Nowadays, she's going for the more princely look. This one looks like a dominatrix.
I mean, you still get a little bit of the princely vibe, but yeah, not. It's very different.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I like it. I like both.
Yeah. Honestly, I do enjoy this design a lot.
Now, I'll get into who Elizabeth is and why she's important in a moment. But before we delve into that, let's talk about this roster. As I said, this is easily the weirdest KOF roster ever. Not just for all the bizarre new additions and new teams and new combinations, but also for all the characters who were left out. As I said, Leona and Joe Higashi were now gone for the very first time since they were introduced. But an even bigger loss, Mai Shiranui. Yes, one of the biggest...
No Mai, no buy.
Staples of not just KOF, but of SNK in general, Mai Shiranui was gone from this roster. At least at launch.
Look, at least at launch. Are you saying they added her as DLC or something? Are you kidding me?
Genius!
Well, what I was gonna say is that I still get T-Zog. It's King of Dinosaurs. Now he's wearing a dinosaur mask. So I think it's I don't know. T-Zog's bird mask is pretty iconic, but like dinosaur though.
You see, there were also a ton of secret characters in the game, many of them in the arcade release. There were 5 different mid-bosses in the game, and how many supers you used to finish off enemies decide which one you would face. Returning from the last game was Adelheid, but everyone else was brand new. From the 3D mixed martial arts fighting game Bariki 1 was the game's protagonist Gai Tendo, as well as the final boss of the game Silver, who was basically SNK's version of Akuma. Then from Savage Rain, we got the game's boomerang-wielding protagonist Sho Hayate, and then the bird-clad assassin Jiazu, who is flat out broken in this game thanks to having a dozen different moves that hit all over the screen.
Oh
Not
my
gonna lie,
goodness.
when I ended up finally unlocking him, it was a pretty good time from then on out. It made the rest of the game a breeze. But those were the unlockable characters on the arcade release. When the game came to the PS2, it featured a wide variety of missions. You see, around this time, video game companies were realizing that with the arcade scene dying, they needed to provide single-player content for their fighting games. Mortal Kombat was the best example of this, but with King of Fighters 11, SNK was trying their hand at it as well. They gave you a series of missions that could be anything from reflecting attacks to beating up an opponent under a set of strict conditions. And by completing these modes, you can unlock a wide variety of secret characters, including EX Kyo, because there must always be an alternate version of Kyo, Robert Garcia, now with a very fancy new redesign, and unfortunately returning to his charge moveset. Then there was Terry Bogard's old master, Tung Fu Ru, Gato's sister Hotaru Futaba, Mr. Big, Geese Howard, and of course, Mai Shiranui, who I will actually admit is the one character in this roster I never managed to unlock, because in order to get her, you have to beat every single female character in the game with Mai on just one life bar. And
ooh, boy.
Eric, you work for the gooder bait.
If you want Mai, you're gonna have to get good.
And man, I gotta respect SNK on that one. They just turned to the audience and said, "Oh, you want Mai in the game? Well, clearly it's because you main her and you're good with her, and it's not just because you want to see her bouncing around in a skimpy outfit, right? Yes, I'm sure that's the reason. I'm sure you're just a Mai main.
Oh, no.
Then in that case, you won't mind stepping into the octagon and proving it first. Yeah, all you fanboys at home say that you love Mai. Well, you better be prepared to fight for that love. So, we got the entire roster out of the way.
I need to know how many people out there got good at fighting games because of this. Like, this is their origin story. They start from here and then they go and win Evo in the future.
Right.
Which means that now it's time for lore. Yes, as I said, the last game was loaded with a lot of mystery. Who is Ash? Why was he after the sacred treasures? Who are these new villains? Before this, with the Orochi Saga and the Nest Saga, SNK was making sure to load players up with tons of books and online journals to make sure that they knew all the ins and outs of the story. But here, SNK was being very coy. They were keeping the important details close to their chest. But now we were finally starting to get some information. And I do stress, some information. Because even when the story was all over and done, there were still some pretty solid chunks of information that were never explained. I played the games, read the wikis, and I still had to watch 3 lore videos on the story just to make sure that I understood everything. And all 3 of those lore videos had completely different versions of these events.
Bruh.
I've compiled all the information that we do know, and I've made my best estimates about what we don't know to come up with a version of these events that I hope we can all find useful. Or at least comprehensive. So you remember in part 1 of this series where I talked about how Gaia, the will of the planet itself, decided it was done with us silly humans always mucking everything up? So it created Orochi, the embodiment of the planet's will to wipe humans out. Well, Orochi wasn't Gaia's only agent. The planet is a big place. They couldn't exactly trust Orochi to handle all of it. So while Orochi was running around destroying things in Japan, over in Europe there was a group of Gaia loyalists called Those from the Distant Land. And they were all waging a war against mankind as well, all working for their own big powerful boss, Psyche. And while in Japan, there were 3 families warring against Orochi, in Europe, there was only one, the Bland Torch. And after a long battle, the Bland Torches were about to wipe Psyche and his followers out, but while Orochi had the power of nature, Psyche had the power of time. They had access to a
Oh no. This is where it begins. This is where the blaze blooming starts happening. Oh god.
giant gateway that could lead them through time. And thanks to the planets aligning just right, the door was powered up, and this allowed Psyche and his followers to escape through the gateway into the future. Well, even if Psyche was gone, the Bland Torches knew that one day they would return, so it became their mission to train for that day. Cut to a decade ago, and the Bland Torches ended up adopting this young boy named Ash. His family, the Crimsons, had recently been killed, so they took Ash into their own family. And over the next 10 years, Ash and the Bland Torch daughter, Elizabeth, became close friends and established a real brother-sister relationship. That is until one day when the Bland Torch home burned
Can't wait for them to kill each other at some point.
down, and the entire family died except for Elizabeth and Ash.
Damn.
Only for Ash to then disappear soon after. Cut to a few months later, and Elizabeth sees Ash in the King of Fighters tournament, and she decides to track him down to find out what happened. Well, as all of this was going on, those from his distant land arrived in the present, and now they were going by the very appropriate name, Those from the Past. And they realized, hey, we weren't strong enough to take out the Bland Torches, and Orochi wasn't strong enough to take out the three sacred families. But now in the present, we know where Orochi is being sealed. So, let's awaken Orochi, absorb its power, then use the gate to go back in time and wipe the Bland Torch family out and succeed where originally we'd failed. Which leads us to the latest King of Fighters. Those from the past, man, that name really does not roll off the tongue. Those from the past failed to break the Orochi seal. But with Chizuru out of the picture, the seal is weakened. Well, as we learned back in King of Fighters 97, if you want to wake Orochi up, nothing is better for that than good old fighting energy.
Yep.
Yes, if you're an evil organization in the SNK games and you're looking to power up your big secret weapon, whether it be a dark god or a space laser, nothing does the job like fighting energy. So those from the past orchestrated another King of Fighters tournament to bring everyone together to make them fight. The canonical winner this year was Elizabeth and the Rivals team, and when they reach the championship, they find the stadium has been destroyed, and waiting for them is Shion, a deadly martial artist working for those from the past. Fun fact about Shion, originally they were going to appear in King of Fighters 2003 as Ron's daughter. Hey, remember Ron? But the idea was eventually scrapped. However, when they need a sub-boss for this game, they decided to bring Shion back, only they decided to change the character so that now they were a man. And I really like this fight. I think Shion is one of the most unique sub-bosses in the series, as they have different stances that they can fight with, using their own fists for quick, precise strikes, a spear for some deadly range, and a rope whip for a whole new variety of attacks. I think this is a really cool fight, and I hope that Shion returns someday. Which might be kind of hard, because after you fight them, their boss opens up a portal and sucks Shion into another dimension in one of the most disturbing bits of body horror in the entire series.
Shit!
Wow.
The portal opens further and
What?
Damn.
What? I was not expecting that at all. That was actually kind of
That's pretty
clean,
sick,
but
though.
also very horrifying.
disturbing bits of body horror.
What? Oh my goodness! Look at that! Oh! Oh! Whoa! Damn! I wonder how many kids are traumatized by this. Oh,
Probably a couple. They'd have to make it this far.
yeah.
in the entire series.
The biggies.
The portal opens further and
Yeah,
out
sure.
steps the big boss of the game, Magaki, who proceeds to transform into a bizarre, almost alien body. And hey, here's
the
an
pink thing we
interesting
saw
little
earlier.
fact about Magaki. He's the worst. I first
Damn.
played this game a couple of years ago, and I remembered him being bad. But until you actually go back in there and get into the fight, you forget just how bad he is. I say this with no small amount of exaggeration. Magaki is the worst boss in King of Fighters history. Not the hardest. No, I want to make that clear. I said in the last video that Ignis was the hardest KOF boss, and I stand by that. He is the
He
hardest.
kind of looks like a pink
But
set man.
Magaki is the worst. Because even if Ignis was harder, Ignis at least made sense. Magaki, on the other hand, is a dozen different ideas that do not feel like they were tested together. Magaki
I don't know how this fight plays out. Judging from what's happening on screen, I feel like we're playing Mario
Right.
Party right now. Like, you need to be in the right spot doing the right thing, or else you die.
feels like
Yeah.
he was designed the same way that a 5-year-old comes up with a superhero. They just keep throwing ideas out there with no concept of how to balance it all. Okay, so he's got long arms, so his normal attack has good range. And he's got 3 different projectiles. No, wait, 4 different projectiles that all launch at you at the exact same time, one of which comes from behind you, Oh, and he can also do an instant energy wall to block your attacks, and it also reflects projectiles, and he can also create orbs, invisible orbs that float across the screen, and he can teleport, and he's got a super that hits the entire screen, and oh yeah, he can also make himself invisible. I am not making any of
Oh my goodness. Thorgi really wasn't kidding when he said, like, this is like an OC from a 5-year-old. Just adding on powers. More and more powers. Why do we go for this, though? This feels, like, really strange compared to all the other SNK bosses. At least they were all, like, coherent in what they were trying to do. This one, I think we had a little too much cooking in the kitchen going on.
That's what happens when we let King cook.
that up. Hell, I'm probably forgetting something. He just loads the entire screen up with random projectiles. And did I mention that this game has guard breaks? So you can't even just stand there and block the attacks waiting for an opening, because he will break your guard and he will punish you for it. And in case you were wondering what all these attacks going off at the same time sound like.
Oh no.
It sounds terrible.
Same level as Psycho
It sounds
Ball.
like hell. You have to learn how to jump and dodge roll around all of his crazy bullcrap, and then when you finally reach him, you have to hope that he doesn't decide to instantly put up his big exploding wall to keep you out or teleport away. And did I mention that his projectiles stay on the field even if he's being attacked? So even if you do manage to get in.
So wait, he doesn't even play by the rules of other fighters. His projectiles just stay there, and so even if you hit him, if the projectiles hit you, then he gets advantage. What the hell? That's bullshit.
On him and start comboing him, a projectile that he already launched can reach you and knock you out. I am not kidding when I say half the footage I recorded of me playing King of Fighters 11 for this video is just of me fighting Magaki. Beating this boss took just as long as climbing the rest of the arcade ladder. But luckily, we will manage to beat him. At which point, Magaki opens up a portal to escape through, only for Shion to reveal that they somehow managed to survive this.
What?
And they are still alive on the other side of that portal, so they decide to get revenge on Magaki for their betrayal by stabbing him through the chest with their spear.
Oh, damn.
Good for you, Shion. I knew I liked you for a reason. And that brings us to the team endings, each of which were drawn by the returning SNK artist Nona. And hey, I said in part 2, I know Nona is kind of a divisive artist, but I really like him. And I think these endings look great, especially the sense of style that he brought to these characters. This is easily the most drip some of these characters have had in the entire franchise. Now, as for the individual
Okay, never mind. That was crazy. I thought they changed the artist, but no.
team endings, the Psycho
This is
Soldiers
the one
endings.
from the other. I forget which one. But
Yeah. No, I mean, I recognize the name. I forget exactly which style they're associated with. Pretty sure it's the one I'm thinking of, but yeah.
These Ron swearing that he'll get Kenzo's dragon power soon. That literally never comes up again after this point.
Okay.
And the Fatal Fury ending sees Duck King and Terry
Subversive.
going out partying with Chang and Troy as Kim gets drunk as he feels no one is taking him seriously. And oddly enough, this actually does come up again after this point. But beyond that, an interesting thing about this game is that many of these endings lead directly into each other. The Art of Fighting ending sees Ryo and King sail on a date by Yuri, then the anti-Kyoku Ginryu team's ending sees them trying to crash that date. Then
Oh
the
my
Secret
goodness.
Agents ending sees them arriving on one of Hydron's ships. K-Dash's ending sees that team on another ship listening to Hydron's plan, only for two of Psyche's followers to arrive and blow up one of those ships in the Ikari Warriors ending.
Oh.
I really dig this idea of
Right.
having endings that all tell a story together. It's a good way of encouraging players to go back through
It
the
is
arcade
cool, yeah.
ladder
I
multiple
like it.
times. But the endings that really matter start with Ash. He tells Oswald that he finally has the info on the dragon pills that he was looking for. They belong to a Chinese drug lord, but that drug lord will only give the pills to someone who can defeat the cartel's top threat, Shin Wu. So Ash basically turns to this deadly hitman on his squad
Damn.
and says, "Oh, you want that medicine? Cool. Kill my longtime friend for it. Great, that's it for me. Bye, everyone."
My
And
goodness,
that was
Ash.
it. Ash left his friend Shin to fight for his life and then proceeded to peace out. Where did he go? Well, for that answer, we cut to the Kyo Iori team ending. Magaki might not have fully unleashed Orochi, but he did gather enough fighting energy to wake it up, which causes Iori to go mad with the Orochi blood right.
Iori drawing the blanket.
That is pretty dark. Oh no, Shingo! It's trying his best,
Shingo.
but god damn, menacing. That the true meaning of menacing right there in one image.
To go mad with the Orochi blood riot. Iori ends up injuring both Shingo and Kyo, but before he can finish them off, Ash appears and made good on his promise from the last game and stole Iori's sacred treasure, causing Iori to lose his connection to Orochi as well as his flame powers. This all leads into the rival team's ending as Elizabeth confronts Ash. She wants to know why he left and why he's acting like this. He tells her that he's not the person she thought he was, taunting her and her team with Iori's purple flames, which are now his. He then uses the power of Chizuru's mirror to disappear, leaving them with a message that Kyo is next. So, this story is now ramping up. Big developments are being made and our heroes are facing threats on multiple fronts. You've got Orochi about to be revived, you've got those from the past looking to take over the world, and you've got Ash Crimson picking off our heroes one by one. And for the next installment, we would see the battle head to a brand new landscape, as SNK was leaving the PS2 era and now heading into the 7th generation of consoles, and it would be on these new platforms that our heroes would face their greatest threat yet. A danger far beyond anything that they had ever imagined as we finally come to... Whoa!
What? What was that?
I don't know.
What are we getting into here? But quick note, I do really like where the story is going now. You do see
I'm into it.
The plot threads that are picking up, and all of our main characters that we've had so far slowly getting defeated. Ash taking all of them. Is he like collecting all of the Dragon Balls in order to achieve something?
Right,
I don't know.
that's what it feels like.
Oh, hold on now. I'm sorry, but we can't go to the next game in the Ash Crimson saga just yet. Because you see, as I said at the beginning of this episode, we're not just covering the Ash Crimson saga today. We're covering what happened to King of Fighters during the SNK Playmore era. And before SNK left the 6th generation of consoles, there was another venture that they went on. A little experiment that has its critics and its fans, and even more critics. But it was an experiment that isn't just worth mentioning, it's worth mentioning right about now.
Booty shot.
Because it does indeed tie into the Ash Crimson saga. Not in terms of story, but more in terms of development. So before we...
Oh my goodness, I'm scared. I'm scared. What am I looking at? Ooh.
we can wrap up the story of Ash Crimson, let's return to where SNK began. To a story of two brothers taking on a crime boss in Southtown.
Oh, really? Does this have anything to do with the slot machine game, the gachapon game that had the Fatal Fury characters back then? Because we learned about that during the Fatal Fury retrospective too. That we had this whole like casino arc with Terry breaking into a casino in order to fight the mob boss there or whatever. That might be connected to this. Oh, jeez. But yeah, dudes, I don't think my mind can handle that, so I think we're going to call it here for now. We'll come back with fresh vibes.
Good idea.
Yeah. Ooh. We'll see how it goes.
I'm scared. I'm not going to lie.
But yeah.
The ups and downs.
Outside of that, I'm super into this arc now, especially after the second game. Plus,
I think I really like Ash.
You know, that the animated body horror scene, I don't think we've seen anything quite like that yet.
No, that was sick, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not shocked. I'm like, clearly a lot of the devs are a fan of like some of that old, like Technolize, HR Geiger, like all that kind of like body horror goes right along with all that shit. So 100%. I'm not shocked.
I mean, especially looking at the last arc too with K-Dash and the setting there. Like, this feels very
That's what
fitting.
I mean. That kind of very gritty, like, early 2000s dark. Yeah.
I wonder if this was something they always wanted to do, but they never really like were able to because of the technology or the budget at the time. But I feel like if they had the opportunity to, they would 100% go for something like this. I mean, well, we'll see when we get to the later games, but they really love their animation.
No, yeah,
Ah.
that was cool. I like that sequence.
But alrighty, dudes, that's gonna be it from us today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye bye.